The next section is we were continuing with the Aztec interdisciplinary material. We're in the mathematics section, learning about division and fractions. So we were going over an example. So we were learning how to change uh, fractions into mixed fractions. So if you have a fraction with the denominator greater than the numerator, you can change it into a mixed number or mixed fraction. So for example, 14 over 4, which is not simplified, even if you don't simplify it first, which I would probably simplify it first, but even if you don't, you still get the correct answer if you simplify it on the last step. Do I have something on my hair? So anyways, which again, 14 over 4, you would divide 4 into 14. So the 14 is your dividend, 4 is your divisor. 4 into 14 goes 3 times, so 12, and you get a remainder of 2. So you get the 3 is going to be the whole number in your answer, and the remainder 2 and over 4, because 4 was the initial denominator. So the answer is going to be 3 and 2 over 4. So you reduce the 2 over 4 to 1 over 2, which is 3 and 1/2 is going to be your answer, equivalent to the 14 over 4. That's the mixed form. The next section is basically we're doing the mixed number, going to the fraction. I guess it's like the opposite. So the way you do this, you multiply the so if you have the number so if you have the number 4 and 5, 6, for example, you want to change this mixed number to a fraction with the numerator larger than the denominator. So it's the opposite thing we just did. So what you're going to do is multiply the denominator, which is the bottom number of the fraction, by the whole number. So in this case, 4 times 6. And then you're going to add the numerator, which is the top number of the fraction. So 4 times 6 is 24, plus 5 is 29. So that's going to become the numerator. And the denominator is always going to stay the same. So 29 over 6 is your answer. Same thing, if you have 4 and 3/10, 10 times 4 plus 3. So 43 over 10 is your answer. Next section is changing fractions to decimals. To change a fraction to a decimal, you're gonna divide we kind of did this, but the denominator into the numerator. So if you have 1 over 2, you're gonna divide 2 into the 1. So you're gonna add 0. Let's see. So to the end of 1. So 2 is going to divide into 1. So in long division format, the 1's going to become 10, and then you're going to get a 5 in the quotient, and you're going to bring up the 1 decimal point in the exact same spot, and you're going to get 0.5. And that's how you change a fraction into a decimal. So your numerator is going to be the dividend, your denominator is going to be the divisor, and you're going to add zeros to help you divide, or decimal point and zeros, and you're just going to maintain the zeros in the same spot once you get an answer. Another example is 2 over 8. So again, this isn't simplified, but you can still go ahead and do it. So the 2 is the numerator is your dividend, 2 over 8. So divide 8 into 2, basically. So the 2, you have to add a 0 to it, and you see how many times 8 goes into 20, which is 2 times. So you get, it's not 2 times, is it 2? So 2 times you get 16. Then you get a remainder 4. You bring down another 0 and you multiply by 5. So because 5 times, because 8 times 5 is 40. So you can get on top, in the quotient, you're going to have a 25, 25. And you're going to bring up the decimal point. It's going to be 0.25. 0.25 is your answer, which is the same as 2 over 8, which is the same as 1 over 4 also. Next is changing decimals to fractions, which is the opposite of what we just did. And this is only usually useful if you have a lot of different fractions you're multiplying and one is a decimal and you want to make everything consistent, so you want everything to be in fraction form. So what you're going to do is, the whole number stays the same. So if you have like 4.3, you're still going to have the 4. So the only thing you're changing is the 0.3 to the decimal form. And the way you do this is, to change the 0.3, you put, you're going to have a numerator and a denominator. So the denominator is going to have a 1 on the bottom, and you're going to have the same number of zeros that are to the right of your decimal point. So if it's 0.3, you just have one space to the right of your decimal point. So it's going to be 10. So you're just going to have that digit 3 over 10. So 4.3 is going to be 4 and 3 over 10. That's going to be your mixed fraction. And if you wanted to simplify, or not simplify, but change it to an unmixed number, you would just do 10 times 4 plus 3, which is 43 over 10. Similarly, if you have 2.5, you can have 2 as the whole number, and then 5 over 10. So that would be 2 and 5 over 10. You can simplify it to 2 and 1/2, which is 5 over 2. Okay. Wow. I thought we just did. Okay. If I sound like a broken record, I'm sorry. So changing mixed numbers to decimals, the whole number portion of the mixed number will become the digits to the left of the decimal point. So, and then the numbers, so if you have 2 and 1/4, which is the mixed number, when you make a decimal, you're still going to have that 2 there. So the only thing you're concerned about is the 1 over 4. And then you would change that to the decimal. The digits to the right of the decimal point, you use the steps we just learned, which you're turning a fraction into a decimal. And that's it. You would get 2 plus 0.25. If you do long division, 1 over 4 will give you 0.25, and your answer is 2.25. And again, backwards, this is where you could do it to the point where you want to go dizzy. So they want you to always think of the number to the front of the decimal point and the number after the decimal point in separate terms. So the whole number plus the decimal portion, which is going to be the fraction portion. So mentally try to separate them. It'll make it easier. 0.25 will be 25 over 100. Since 0.25 has 2 spaces to the right of the decimal point, you can have 2 zeros. So 100 on the denominator. So 0.25 is 25 over 100, which will simplify to 1 over 4. So 2.25 is 2 and 1 over 4. Thank you.